When it comes to what's happening in Wayne County and the North Carolina area, look no further than Taylor House Publishing. If you have a story that needs to be told, please contact us via email at taylorhousepublishing@gmail.com.
All right, peace and blessings, ladies and gentlemen. Here you see yet another case of a young black man that was found suspended in the air from a tree in a city with a history of racial tension. Now, this story is about 24-year-old Robert Fuller, who was found suspended in a tree in the middle of Palmdale, California, almost in the town square. He was found by a passerby at 3:40 a.m. And of course, you know what they immediately said? There is no evidence that points to anything else but self-unalivement. Now, the family and the locals of that area. Now, matter of fact, this happened in June 10th of 2020. Now, of course, this probably flew under the radar because during that time, you had all of the deaths: George Floyd, Breonna Taylor, Ahmaud Arbery, and the numerous other unalivements that you probably had not heard about. But this happened right in Palmdale, California, which has a population of about 132,000 people. So it's not a small city. However, many people felt, as probably I feel right now, just by reading this article, that there was some foul play, even though detectives say nothing points to foul play. And you know the narrative that they're going to run with, or that they ran with, was his history of mental health. Now, that's what the police told the investigators and the news, that he had a history of mental health. But his family said, nah, we don't know anything about that. Now, who else knows a young black man more than his family? So that is a red flag that, caused my antennas to rise. But I'm just going to go over a little bit of this article with you and see how, once again, that same narrative is painted, where young black men, and this one, they said he climbed the tree. Like, he climbed the tree and tied the rope around the tree and then just jumped down. And that's how they say, well, we know it's no foul play, because whoever tied this rope, they had to be up in the tree. If somebody did that to him, they could have easily gotten up in the tree and did it themselves as well. Nevertheless, let's look at this article, and this is from June 10th, 2020. It says, the family of a black man found hanging from a tree. The attorney says that there is no evidence that has been found to contradict that it was self-inflicted. He said he doesn't have any evidence to suggest that there was a H crime. There's nothing to indicate threats. There's nothing to indicate foul play. There were no racist sentiments, no symbols or anything in the area, so we don't have any information to suggest that it was a H crime. Now, mind you, back in the days when they strung brothers from trees, there was no signs, there was no racist sentiment, there was no symbolism around, they didn't paint swastikas on the trees or nothing. They just did it. So the absence of those things particularly does not rule out that someone did this to him. Now, here is the lawyer. Again, I want to make it clear, I'm not expecting that anything is going to dramatically change, but in complete thoroughness to the family, I told them I will find out every answer that I can find out. He said Fuller's relatives were not aware of his history with mental health issues prior to this. So once again, who else would know Fuller besides his family? Now, of course, the Los Angeles County Sheriff said that the department's investigation determined that he took his own life, citing physical evidence and Fuller's history with mental health and thoughts of unaliving himself. They said that his history started January 2017. So that means he would have been 21, talking about he had auditory hallucinations at a hospital in Arizona. Once again, he passed in Palmdale. So, and they said that he stated that he wanted to put a gun to his head. Now, they said also in 2019, probably a year before that, he admitted himself into a California hospital, reportedly hearing voices telling him to unalive himself. He was treated at a hospital in Nevada for self-unaliving ideations and depression. So they're given this long list of states. What was he, a drifter? Nevada, Arizona, California. Where did they get all of these medical records from? The day after his passing. What they just wrote these things up, and where, who's to verify these records? Because of course, HIPAA is HIPAA. It's the records are supposed to be sealed. So the family does not have any way of justifying this narrative. Also, once again, they found him hanging by a rope in Ponticellan Square about 3:40 a.m. on June 10th. Now, this is also a red flag. Detectives identify a purchase from a local Dollar Tree store made on May 14th, which is about a month beforehand, with a red rope consistent with the one Yee used in suspending him from the air. And the rope was purchased with an EBT card. Now, to my understanding, EBT cards are only to be used when purchasing food. So I don't know how he had this special rope purchasing EBT card, but evidently this must be something that they have out in California. Also, they continue to say that there were no signs of struggle, no defensive wounds, and observed no other signs of trauma visible to Mr. Fuller. Now, once again, that's subjective. We all know the story of Javion McGee, where they said there was no injuries to his body, yet and still the family, and other witnesses have came forth saying that no, he was beaten. And so the locals did not believe it. The residents hurled obscenities at the sheriff and city officials as they tried to give an update on the investigation. And the sheriff said that the initial statement about self-unalivement was only a preliminary statement. But the investigation apparently concluded, and it was accepted by the family in this one other article that they believe, or they're going to accept that ruling that he unalived himself. But this other article as well goes with that same narrative. They said Fuller had a history of mental illness, and there were prior reports of self-unaliving ideation. And he had once disclosed a plan to unalive himself. Once again, this article says he purchased the rope. The rope was purchased with a card. This didn't say an EBT card. And then it goes on to say where he was found. And here is the part that I mentioned earlier. The rope and fabric around his neck was tied directly to the tree branches in more than one spot. Sort of like the rope that was used on Javion McGee, accessible from only up in the tree, indicating that the victim was not hoisted into that position. Once again, just because he was not hoisted into that position, somebody could have easily got up there and tied the rope on a ladder, or got up in the tree and had, their investigative techniques lean towards what they wanted to lean towards. When they said, okay, well, indicate the victim was not hoisted. That doesn't mean that someone couldn't pick them up and put them in the tree, or someone else tied the rope around the tree and, tied it around. There's so many factors to dispute this narrative. He said there was no evidence of a ladder or a chair, and that the tree was easily climbable by someone of Mr. Fuller's age and stature. Now, I can't climb trees. So if you ever find me in a tree, believe me, I didn't climb myself up there. So this is, that automatically assume that all black men can climb trees at the age of 24. And that just because there was no evidence of a ladder or a chair there, that doesn't mean that there was none there. And then they tried to say investigators observed several prominent scars on Fuller's wrist that indicate self-unaliving. And he said that he was found suspended within reach of the trunk and the crux of the tree, within reach of it. So that means it almost reminded me once again of a situation with Javion, where they're saying that he was in a position where he really wasn't hanging. This case, once again, this is 4 years ago, but somebody sent me this, so I just had to share it. I'm moving down the list of all the suspicious unalivings of black men, especially the ones which exist that they are suspended in air from the trees, and every one of them are saying that they unalive themselves. These men, according to his family, with no history of mental health, just decided to climb into a tree, knowing the racial history of that. Meaning, who would do that? Who would even do that? Like they keep talking about mental health and putting that on these young men. Now, while I know there is mental health, I've had mental health issues in the past. Now, don't take this video and say, yeah, Richard said he hasn't, no, I don't have them anymore. And I'm not thinking about doing anything to myself, especially not hoisting myself in a tree. But, we have to be careful because there are people suffering from that. But there are also people who are victims. And if we continuously to harp on everything as mental health, then they're going to continue to use this as an excuse when men are found suspended in trees, just like they tried to use that as an excuse with Javion. But then his family was like, nah, he won't, nah, he was good. So we got to be careful with that narrative. Everybody goes through something on a daily basis. Life is hard out here. So, but that doesn't just gonna mean somebody's gonna, put themselves in a tree. Y'all tell me what y'all think in the comments. 919-587-7782. Peace and blessings. Thanks for tuning in. Y'all have a blessed day.